Hi, and welcome to How to Create a Travel Profile. My name is Kelly McGarry with Travel Services. We're going to walk you through how to create and submit a travel profile, as well as some background information about kind of what it is and why it's useful. So what you're looking at right now is Ariba eTravel. Um, if you haven't been in Ariba before, just know that it does do quite a few financial functions for the university. We're going to be taking a look at a travel profile, which is related to an expense report or a travel reimbursement. And so Ariba does other things, but we're going to be focusing on the travel side and specifically on a travel profile. Just so you know what a travel profile is. So what this will do is this will save you some time in the long run. Um, on the expense report, what it does is it actually auto-populates information for a traveler. So where it becomes beneficial is if you're going to be reimbursing a traveler, frequently throughout the year. What this can do is save you time in the long run. Let's say it's a traveler that only travels once every 2 years or once a year. May not be the most beneficial, but if you're in a support role where they are traveling frequently, this will definitely save you some time. And that'll make a little more sense once we get into the travel profile and I kind of show you how it works within the expense report. That'll make a little bit more sense. But just know if you're in a support role, they're traveling frequently, this is definitely going to be something you want to pay attention to. And so how to create a travel profile, what you do is in this top left corner right here, you'll see the create button. And once you click that, it'll start to expand. And if you don't see travel profile pop up right away, just make sure you click these little arrows right here. For me, it's at the bottom. It may look a little bit different. I have different access in the system than you may have. But when you see travel profile, that's what you're going to click. So the travel profile is pretty straightforward. The first thing it's going to ask you to do is to title it. And so I'm going to kind of make a fake travel profile. I'm just going to go ahead and make it for myself. And it's going to default, it should default to say you. So travel profile for, and then that's myself, Kelly McGarry. And what you'll do is just title it to whoever it is that you're making a travel profile for. To be honest, the title doesn't matter a whole lot, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But just go ahead and title that travel profile, and then for whoever you're making it for, and I'm going to go ahead and leave it as myself since I'm making it for myself. The next thing it's going to do is ask you for the employee name. And so it's defaulting to show me, but I'm going to show you how you can actually search somebody since you need to know how to actually search. And at this point, I'll go ahead and tell you that travel profile can only be made for those that are active employees. So the expense report module does know how to support payments to other types of travelers, such as non-UW or UW students, things of that nature. But the travel profile it is only available to those that are active employees. And that's because you can only make a travel profile for those that are active in the Ariba directory, and only those that are active employees are in the Ariba directory. And so to do that, you will see, so it has my name, but if you want to make someone do it for somebody besides yourself, you're going to click this arrow right here. You'll notice that I do have a few options that are available, and so that's just has to do with Ariba tracking. So it actually, Ariba's pretty snazzy, and it does actually know things that you have entered before. So if you see that when you're working the expense report and other parts in Ariba, just know that it's just Ariba tracking things that you've already entered. But generally, once you get to this point, if you're making a travel profile, it's probably not going to show up there. What you're going to do is come to search for more down here at the bottom. And so there's a couple different ways you can search for the person. You can actually search by their name or by the email address. And we always recommend going by the email address because we have close to 60,000 employees at UW. A lot of people share the same first and last name. We have the same exact guidance when you're doing the expense report. One thing we run into is a lot of people will get confused because they're wondering why the person didn't get the email to approve the expense report. And a lot of times it's because they sent it to the wrong person. They have the same first and last name, but they selected the wrong UW ID or the wrong email address. And because of that, it's being routed to the incorrect person. And so we recommend going by the email address because those are unique to that traveler. And so you don't run the risk of making that error. You can go by the name. If you do go by the name, we recommend searching by the last name. The search function isn't super robust, but if you search by the last name, that's the best way to do it. And then, but a lot of people share the same last name, so you may be scrolling for a while, and again, you still could run into that same error where people have the same first and last name. But I'll go ahead and type in my last name just to show you what it looks like to search by the name. Mine's pretty easy because my name is pretty unique, so that one is showing up right away. But one of my colleagues, Robert Lee, is a good example. If you type in Lee, there's a great example of, then you might be, scrolling forever kind of thing. So going by the net ID is always best. And so for email address, so my email address is kmcgary@uw.edu. So once you get to this point, you'll just need to get that email address from whoever you're making the travel profile for. And then you search it in here. And for some reason, it's not coming up. And so just know that when you do the search, these ones are entered as u.washington.edu. But if you just type in the UW net ID, then it won't come up. So you'll see when I put in K McGarry, then it limits my choice to show that's the right one. If you do type the full email, just make sure you do u.washington.edu. That's just how they're logged in Ariba right here. Once you get to here, then you just click the select button. And once you get to this point, then you are good on entering the traveler. The next thing it's going to ask you for is home address and duty station. And you'll see in parentheses here, it just says city, state. So all we're asking for is the city and the state combo. One thing I do see people do on the expense report, as well as on the travel profile, is list the full home address. I would advise against that. It's not something that we're asking for. There's no need to provide that additional personal information. So at this point, just make sure you put the city and the state. And so I live in Seattle, so mine would be Seattle, Washington. And then I work on Seattle campus. So if this person works on Seattle campus, you would put Seattle, Washington as well. Obviously, if they work at any of our other UW locations like Bothell, you would put Bothell, Washington, and so forth. Next thing it's going to ask you for is how they like to be paid. So for active UW employees, they have the option for direct deposit. I would say for the most part, that's generally what people are going to want. I know that's what I have set for my travel reimbursements. It's the easiest for everyone involved. So there's no paper checks, no chance for the check to get lost or stolen or anything crazy like that. With direct deposit, it basically is processed just like payroll does. It gets routed automatically to the ISC or the Integrated Service Center. They process the direct deposits, and then the direct deposit goes out the following business day after the expense report is fully processed, and then from there it takes about 2 to 5 business days, and it's all automatic. So generally people like that option. If you do click no, there are a few other options. We can mail checks domestic and to foreign locations. UW box number is our intercampus mail, so those are processed by my mailing services. But they also process the domestic and the foreign checks. And so some people do like that option. And then the last one is wire. Generally for a travel profile, wire is going to be something that's not selected. That's for international travel support. But just know that is an option. And accounts payable has a whole section on their website regarding wire payments. So if you're more curious about kind of how those work and the fees associated with them and things like that, I'd recommend checking out that page. And then, so I'm going to flip it back to direct deposit because that's generally what people are going to be selecting. And then you'll notice that it asks for a UW box number. The reason for that, so there is a backstory to this. Do make sure that you put something accurate there. And so the purpose of the UW box number is when the direct deposit fails on the university's end, what happens is it actually mails a check automatically to that UW box number. So if you ever have a traveler who said, I thought this was set to direct deposit, why did I receive a check instead? There's a chance that their direct deposit failed for some reason, and that could be for all kinds of different reasons. There's no way to list them all. If they left that bank or they changed the account number or things of that nature, what'll happen is it'll fail on the university's end, and then a check will get printed automatically to that UW box number. So it's just automatically happens in the background in the system. So the box number on our floor is 354-967. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. And once you get to this point, then you are done on this screen, and you can either click next up here at the top or at the bottom. They both do the same thing. This screen says preferences travel profile. This is actually not anything that you can enter. I know it's a little quirky as far as why this pops up, but you can just go ahead and ignore it. There's nothing to enter here. You just click next again. And once you get to this screen, there is one more thing that pops up that you could utilize. It's not required. And that's this comment box here at the bottom. What will happen is if you do use the comment box, what will happen is it'll put this comment on that traveler's expense report every single time you do an expense report for them. So I don't see this get used a whole lot, but if you find that if you're making the same comment every single time for a traveler, no matter what it may be, this may be useful if that is something that you're doing. I will say I don't see people do this a whole lot, but there could be needs out there on campus for it. But just know that if you do put something there, it's going to put that comment every single time you do an expense report for that traveler, unless you create the new travel profile and kind of edit the fact that there was a comment there. And so I'm going to leave it blank since there's no general comment that needs to be added for my expense reports. And once you get to this point, then you just click submit at the top right. And when it says this travel profile has been submitted for approval, then you know that it is good to go. So it does say submitted for approval, but it doesn't need to be approved. These travel profiles, they don't have an approval flow. They get approved automatically. And so when you go to do the expense report, then this information will start to auto-populate. One thing to know about the travel profile, one question I do get is how do I go back and edit a previous travel profile? And so what you actually do is you don't actually go find that travel profile that you already submitted. What you do is you just go through those same steps that I just showed you again. And what it does is the system just overwrites whatever was there previously. So let's say I moved to Renton, Washington or something like that. So that would mean that Seattle, Washington is no longer what my home address, city and state should be. So what I would do then is come to create and then travel profile, and then I would just follow those same exact steps again, click submit, and then what'll happen is it'll overwrite whatever was there before, and then when I go to do an expense report now, it'll update to show Renton instead of Seattle. So that's how you actually will make an edit to a previously submitted one. And let me just show you real quick what the benefit of doing that was. So we'll go into an actual expense report. So create expense report. I'm going to go ahead and click continue to the summary section. And so this is the part of the expense report where you'd normally be entering the traveler. So you'll see right here, traveler, it's blank. And so I'm going to go ahead and enter myself. Remember, you can search for more to find other people. It looks the exact same as travel profile. And now you'll see when I click traveler, what happens is it auto-populated the information over here. So Seattle, Washington, it marked me for direct deposit, and then it said UW box number 354967. You will see that it says in care of. It does give you this option when you get to the expense report. What that does is the check will always be made out to whoever you put as the traveler, or the direct deposit, or the check will always be in the name of this person. But the in care of box is whenever a check is delivered, what it'll do is change what name is on the envelope. So a lot of people use that if they're trying to intercept a check for a traveler. What you could do is have it, mailed to your box number, intercept it, and then the envelope's made out in your name, but the check will be made out in that traveler's name, and then you could pass it off to them. So just a little background on that. But now you can see, okay, this is what the benefit of the travel profile was. So what happens is if there is no traveler entered, what would happen? I'll just go ahead. It leaves the information there. But if you clear out, when you come to the expense report by default, this is all just blank information. So what you would do is if I didn't have a travel profile, if you entered me, this would be blank, and then you'd have to type in Seattle, Washington, mark yes for direct deposit, and then provide the box number. So you can see why, okay, if someone's only traveling once a year, it's only going to save you 20, 30 seconds a year. But if you're pumping out expense reports, multiple times, a month for somebody, then you're looking at more substantial saving of time. All right, and that is everything that I have for you as far as travel profile. So thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions about anything that you saw, feel free to reach out to us. Our email address is travel@uw.edu. Again, that's travel@uw.edu. Our phone number is 206-543-5858. And if you want to find our homepage, you can also just Google UW Travel Services, and it'll come right up and it has all of our contact info and information about what we do on there as well. But thank you, and we'll look forward to working with you in travel. Thank you.